Welcome to another episode of Quanser Café. My name is Paul Gilbert. I'm the CEO of Quanser, based in Toronto, Canada. And today I'm extremely honored to have with me Professor Michael Faborode. Michael is, again, another good friend of mine, and we've known each other now for a number of years. We've met in different places, including Nigeria. He's a Nigerian educational administrator and a professor of agricultural engineering. He was the former Vice Chancellor of Obafemi Awolowo University. And after that, he was also the Secretary General of the Committee for Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities. So you were working with all the other Vice Chancellors, I think, for maybe more than 30 universities in Nigeria. And over his career, he's been given multiple awards, including the Nigerian Institute of Building Award, the Nigerian Society of Engineers Merit Award, the 40th anniversary OAU Distinguished Alumni Award, which I think that was probably a big deal from OAU. I think more recently has been spending a lot of time trying to work with not just his own university, but other universities around Nigeria to raise the standard, to take best practices from around the world. And we've been working with you to work on a project at OAU, which I hope after this horrible period will come to life. But thank you so much for joining me, Michael. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So the conversation I wanted to have with you, Michael, really is about engineering education and research capacity building. We've, as I mentioned, we've met in various places around the world. Maybe to get things started, because we've had lots of conversations, so I know you pretty well. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What got you interested in engineering in the first place, and maybe a little bit about your background, how you ended up at OAU.
Thank you very much. My father, in his lifetime, was a teacher, and I mean, for us here, that's some privilege being the son of a teacher. So I started school just at 6 o'clock, at age of 6, and then went on to the secondary school, not too far from my hometown, which is in the southwestern part of Nigeria. And while we were in that school, we used to ascribe several roles to ourselves, and my colleagues believed that I should be a doctor, and so they used to think that I'm the doctor of the class, being the best student. But I knew within my mind that I don't like biology. I'm not good in the biosciences. I know I'm more interested in what we call in the higher school then math physics, which is for engineering. And but strangely, I wanted to be a chemical engineer. Just because I've interacted with somebody from the oil industry in Nigeria, and I thought it was a great course. But as luck we have it, in the admission process, I was offered agricultural engineering. And incidentally, a year before, I had gone to an exhibition, an agri fair in our school, mounted by the ministry. But they brought a machine that was invented at Ife, a yam pounding machine by one of our old professors, who incidentally is still alive. I think he's 89, going 90 now. And I was so fascinated that there could be a machine that would do such a process. And so when I learned I was offered agricultural engineering, I said, well, maybe that's fate, because I was interested in doing exactly what that man had done. And so that was the beginning of interest. And of course, I attended a secondary school, what we call a comprehensive school, where we learned things about technical drawing, woodworks, metal fabrication. And so the background was there to be able to read engineering. And I quite enjoyed reading engineering at Ife. I guess I can pause here for now.
Well, I know in talking to your colleagues at OAU about your contribution to the agricultural engineering program. I mean, I don't want to make you sound to be very old, but you have had many years and contributed quite a bit to the study of agriculture. Like, what are some of your kind of fondest memories of things that you developed and designed for the agricultural community?
Yeah, look, agricultural engineering is about rural development. It's about rural transformation. And I have never regretted being an agric engineer. No, not for a single day. My undergraduate project was on a machine that we pulverize, that we sort of break agricultural materials into smaller components. We normally call it the hammer mill. And it was so fascinating for me. And my colleagues in the university will always come to see me when I'm doing the testing. And I felt it was my first introduction to machine design, and it was very exciting. It went on to win awards, graduate presentations by the Nigerian Society of Engineers, and so on. And I mean, we wrote a paper from it. So by the time I did my master's under the guidance of the man I mentioned earlier, Professor Mark Onjola, and it was also very exciting. That one I tried to work on a rotary slasher for cocoa plantation. And it also was very good. It was an A-grade work. So by the time I got to Newcastle upon Tyne for my PhD, I saw that the faculty was struggling. I mean, they were really, urging themselves to, one of them to get me on. And eventually, I fell into the hand of a very old and highly experienced man, Professor J.R. O'Callaghan, who had been everything in the UK agricultural system and the Commonwealth, and came back, for service. And he was quite, excited to take me on. So that was the big launch for me. And so my background at Ife was, I was very proud of it, because I was not just coming in as somebody who didn't know what he was going to do, but somebody who was, quite matured and knew what the profession was all about. And so it's been like that.
Well, I have to tell you, I've been around the world to so many universities in my career, working for Quanser. I've never had that hospitality that I experienced when I came to Ife and I came to your university. You took me to your special guest house, and when I went to the faculty club, I think so many people from around the campus, not just engineering people, but the people from multiple history department, English department, they came to visit us and welcome us to the campus, which was very nice. And for everyone listening here, Ile-Ife is what, about 5 hours from Lagos by car?
Yeah,
it's a 5-hour drive, and it's not an easy drive. It takes some time to get there, and you have your facility, with a wall around it. There's a lot of land. So when students come to your university, maybe you could share with everybody some of the fundamental principles of OAU. It's for everybody, right? It's not for the wealthy. It's for any. So maybe you could explain that a little bit.
Yeah, things have changed a bit in Nigeria now, but OAU started in 1962. It's a countryside university. Ile-Ife is not terribly urban, but it's a big city. It's like the origin of the Yoruba race. We have the big chief, the Ooni of Ife, living, not far from the university, and always wanted to involve the university in whatever they are doing. So Ife, we talk about the Ife experience, and everybody knows in Nigeria and perhaps in some other countries that the product of Ife are very confident, are very sure of themselves, and they're always very boisterous. And we sing, we shout, great Ife, great Ife. But I've come to realize that the environment gives you that confidence, gives you the ability to be able to exist anywhere in the world. I guess it's because the city is not too urban, and so everything is on campus, and you have to take care of your life. You have to get everything, and so it develops the total person. And so when you talk of the frontiers of industry in Nigeria, especially in the engineering aspects, electronics, the graduates of Ife dominates everywhere in terms of innovation to the economy and so on. New apps in fintech, in other ways of life. The Ife products are always at the commanding eyes of industry. And so we tend to ascribe a lot of pride to having passed through Ife, and that's something that goes for the university. In those days, as I was saying, there were foreign students aplenty from all over the world, not just from Africa. In Africa, you have from South Africa, from Zimbabwe, and co. And so it was a fraternity. I mean, a global fraternity that you have, lecturers from Pakistan, from India, from the UK, from the US. There were a lot of such things. And we also have the Yoruba acculturation program that brings some students from the United States who come on exchange program. And that's something that is still on till now, because Ife is great in the arts, in sculpture, in everything. And so it's a place that people want to visit and to experience the real traditional life of Nigeria.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's a beautiful, big, as you said, country campus, and it's one of, I think, about 30 national universities or publicly funded universities, but it's recognized as probably the leader of the university. So you influence maybe 30 more universities across the country, and your philosophy, like I said, is to bring in people. You don't charge a lot of money to do the education.
No.
It's on merit, and you build the confidence within there. You've done some really amazing things at OAU. I'd like to maybe talk about the Tech Park initiative, which has made a difference. What was the driving force behind that, and what have you been hoping to achieve?
Yeah, in spite of the scenario that I've painted, we have been able to catch a niche for OAU in terms of assessing grants and, I mean, showing the pathway for development. As far back as 2005, the Carnegie Corporation came and went through several universities, and they were looking for universities to fund. And when they got to OAU, the unions were very strong, and they said, no, these are World Bank apologies, and they don't want them. In fact, they had advised the World Bank not to come to OAU because, I mean, the staff are too radical, and they will not allow them. So, but the Carnegie Corporation decided to come. And true, when they come, they gave them a very tough time. But at the end, what they said is that, look, we are very confident now that whatever we give to this university, there is a critical mass of people who will make sure that it is justifiably utilized. And that was what happened. We got the 3 consecutive renewals from the Carnegie grant to the full, no shortages. Unlike some other universities, some dropped out, some got less, as we had 9 years of impact. And that was the beginning of a turnaround, because from 1980 to 2000, things were very bad for Nigeria. It was, we call it turbulent period, the years of the Holocaust. And so the recovery picked up in 2000, and I must ascribe part of the success to the Partnership for Higher Education, which includes Carnegie Corporation, Ford Foundation, MacArthur Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates, and about 7 of them, the American, big 7 that came on. And of course, there were also grants, from CEDA, also from DFID, the British Council, and Swedish agencies. But the impact of the Carnegie Corporation was more. And by the end of 3 years, the World Bank came with proposals to set up centers of excellence. And OAU were able to get into it. 3 years after, they upscaled the Center of Excellence. And that was when the idea of the technology park came as a means of transferring knowledge from the laboratories, to the outside world, to the industry. And we had a number of collaborators from the industry that wanted it to take off. But you can have big dreams, but you cannot really determine who is going to succeed you in a position. Since 2012, I left. My tenure was 5 years, because it's standard 5 years in federal universities in Nigeria. I finished my tenure in 2011. Unfortunately, the people that followed from 2012 to, I would say, 2017, 2018 did not continue with the dream, the big dream that we have, the big ideas that we had. And so things went down a bit. Luckily, we had somebody else coming in 2017, and just about that time, another grant was in the offing, and that's where we now. That was to upgrade the old technology park that we had, the Oak Park. I must say that in spite of all the challenges and abandonment that we suffered in the Holocaust time that I said, the head of the Oak Park distinguished himself, and that was Shola that you met.
Shola,
He did very well to justify the World Bank believing in that project. Out of the 10 centers of excellence in Nigeria that started in 1915, that was adjudged to be the best in terms of performance. The World Bank, we ordinarily don't want to allow funds to be spent on capital projects like building, but they made an exception. And I think you came and you saw the sprawling.
It's really amazing having listened to all the challenges.
And it's not just the buildings, the infrastructure, the laboratories, things were inside. So our plan is that we are going to upgrade and add more to this equipment and things by our collaboration with your good self, your company that is coming, and the LEAP engineering network that we want to use to change engineering education and design in Africa. And
this is what I mean. As I said, I mentioned I see people all over the world, and when I get to your campus and I see the tech park, I see what's been achieved, knowing the challenges you've had over the years to get there, and then remember you had your students, some master's students, present to me some of their projects.
Okay, yeah.
And it was fascinating. You've got a mini incubator there. They got proof of concept. Yeah. You've got students who are aspiring to do something interesting and new and novel. Yeah. And then there's the other thing that you want to do is this dependence on foreign engineered products doesn't make sense, but for everything, because it's too expensive. You need to find ways to develop products that are affordable for agriculture, for engineering, for communications in Nigeria. And what you've done is build this it's a center of hope, I would call it, a center of hope. You want to expand to the other universities. So it's a really exciting
I'm happy and proud that from the center we were able to have at least 6 spin-off companies that were coming out, and their products are quite very exciting. When we displayed, a lot of people don't even want to believe that those things were made at Ife, and so that's the pride. And that is the hope that if we harness the creativity of the young ones, then we can really turn things around. And the beauty is that center cater for students from all over West Africa, not just Nigeria alone. There were 37 foreign students in that program.
That's right. You're coming from other parts of Africa, right?
So we are trying to build on that. The new arrangement, so that we have more and more African students coming to benefit from the experience, so that the leadership that people ascribe to Nigeria can truly be, respectable.
So if you think about moving forward, there's always the issue of funding. Financial support is always going to be an issue. Aside from that, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges that you face in Nigeria and even Western Africa in terms of getting to the point where you can compete on a global scale with the engineers from other parts of the world?
One of the greatest challenges is to have engineers who are very, very good in their trades. They don't just know the fundamentals, but in terms of practice, in terms of engagement with society, with the industry, they should be readily be there. And that is the purpose of the new program that we are bringing up. We want to ensure, and part of it is that even engineers that are already in practice, we are going to have short courses for them to retrain them and to change their perception of themselves and of the practice. Because if we are still poor, if we are still hungry, And if we are seeing a lot of diseases, then we can question what is the essence of our knowledge? What is the essence of our scholarship? And so we feel that this is a big challenge that we must confront. And in doing that, we want to believe more in ourselves, but leverage partnership with our colleagues and friends who can give us the support. One major problem that we have to confront is how to change the political system to appreciate the drivers of development to which we must direct funding. There are too much waste in the system, and there is still corruption. And we have to use technology to confront this headway. And some of the things that the young ones are developing gives us hope that we can move along. The fintech industry in Nigeria with a lot of apps. I mean, it's amazing. It's astounding. The pace at which they are doing things now, and that gives a lot of hope that we can clean up the mess of corruption gradually and get us moving.
And use technology to kind of highlight that and eradicate it. Are you getting a lot of help from industry in terms of supporting the practice of engineering to have students have maybe internships or projects they can work on?
Yeah, I mean, the industry, they are ready. There are a number of impediments. For instance, how do we incentivize industry so that when, they contribute, some capital, they can get something for their own? How can they take advantage of the knowledge system to advance also themselves and their products? So it's not at the stage where we are, what we want right now, because the industry themselves, they are suffering. They have a lot of challenges. They have to provide their own water. They have to provide their own. They are like a government on their own to be able to survive, because the power system, the power infrastructure in Nigeria is not, what it ought to be. And until we crack that problem, there will still be, a lot of problem with change and development. So, but we are harnessing this collaboration with industries. They are very interested. And the younger ones really, they're quite, and the fact that a number of people dominate the space are OAU graduates, gives us a leeway to be able to get them on board. And to ensure that planning is part of the process and to have an effective triple helix system, the academia, the government, and the industry. The Nigerian Economic Summit Group is very vital. And we are in good collaboration so that, we use them to test the ideas from the industry and their demands. And right now, the curriculum of all Nigerian universities is being revamped. And this is in response to the cries from the industry about the mismatch, this disconnect, which was the basis of our upgrade of the Oak Park. That project is to fill that gap so that graduates of engineering and other professions come out and they can solve problems of society rather than just being theoreticians and so on.
Yeah, it's right now when I think about all the challenges you faced and all the things that you put in place, it's a slow process. We know from getting the funding flowing through to make good projects happen. It does take a lot of time. So you have to have a lot of patience. How did the pandemic impact you and OAU and Nigeria in general?
Yeah, both negatively and positively to some extent. The negative part was that the country response was not as robust as it ought to be, because the health system is not as good as it ought to be. But somehow, and I think even to the scientists, they are still baffled why we don't have much of the problem of the pandemic. At the start of it, most of the countries evacuated their staff from their embassies, thinking that everything was going to crash down. Generally in Africa, but also particularly in Nigeria because of the large population. But all the incidents that we've had now is just about, it's less than 500,000. And the deaths are just probably about 120,000, or I mean, as low as that. I mean, India is having, almost 500,000 every day now. I mean, so we have been spared. But the disruption when, we locked down affected education, people could not go to school, and the response to online system was not immediate. Particularly the government institutions were not capable, but the private universities responded very well. But now that things have eased a bit, it's so amazing that it has forced the system to adopt online learning. Because
really,
like if we decided not to bring in the students so as not to complicate the reemergence, the second wave and the third waves. So we ask students, only the final year students, because of their engagement with projects, were brought in and then scattered in the various halls of residence. The bulk of the students were learning from home, and that forced our younger colleagues and everybody to adopt online, and people have to prepare. And it's amazing how they've responded to it. Of course, somebody like me, I've been ready for online system, way back since I came back to Ile-Ife. But I'm so happy that it has forced all the others, to do so. And so we have been able to manage the system, manage the situation very well. The end of this semester is coming now. Soon there will be exams, and then we start another semester. So that's a positive way that it has forced us to adopt a sort of blended learning approach, tilting more towards online learning system.
Yeah, because I know in talking to you in the past, you were kind of frustrated that a lot of people didn't want to go down that path because it's too much work, it's a lot of effort, project-based, blended learning, and now it was forced upon you. So it's actually happening now.
Yeah.
I was thinking about some of the more challenging, research developments that need to happen for your environment over there. What are the kind of areas that OAU is investing in terms of research and education? What are the subject matters and the thrusts that you're working on now?
OAU is basically an agrarian university. And I think the strengths in OAU are in agriculture, food processing, ICT, and drug production. And that's what a study that gave us the direction for the technology park, revealed. And that has largely remained. OAU law is also, very good. OAU education is also very good, but those are the main areas. And so we feel that we should strengthen those subject areas and continue to excel. Incidentally, our local agency, TED Fund, which has been responsible for providing funding for universities on a bigger scale, because the idea is to tax companies. I think it's about 2% of their profit is now deployed to the higher education institutions for their development, particularly in infrastructure and so on. So we advocated, and more of that fund is going to research. And so the rounds of research applications for national projects came recently. And OAU did very well in terms of the number of successes. In fact, we have a project in the department on harnessing technologies for drying and dehydration. To be able to, make sure that farmers. So the direction is, to more in agriculture, more in the pharmaceutical sciences, and also, developing more of ICT so that it can spread to all other areas. And then, of course, for our department, in addition to agriculture, adding value to our products, food processing, preservation, and so on.
You know, the thing, Michael, you always amaze me. You know, despite all of the challenges that you've had, you're still smiling. You're still looking at the future for OAU. You're still looking at amazing ways that you can develop the youngsters and incubate new companies. You have a national vision, a local vision, and a departmental vision. You know the kind of areas that your university needs to be working on. You know, it's a pleasure to know you. It's a pleasure to learn so much about you, and hopefully our project will move forward. I'm, you know, with you driving it, I'm 100% certain it will. So please give my best to Shola and Soji and all the other people that I know at the Ife. And thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. It was a real pleasure.
Paul, thank you very much. I mean, working with you has been a great inspiration. I mean, when we were developing the research proposal for the projects, it was amazing. I mean, the responses and the traffic of our conversation and emails, and I was never in doubt that the project was going to make it, because I mean, we really, you know, came out well in preparing something that was addressing a challenge that people could appreciate and were ready to support, and that was what happened. So I'm looking forward to it, that we are going to make something good out of it, and that it will be part of getting us ready for the Africa we want. And,
that's always been on your mind, is that notion of creating something special. You don't want to just create it. You want to be an inspiration for others to make that happen. And you know, OAU is a leading institution in Nigeria. It's for the Western Africa, and I know you travel a lot to get the ideas, you know, and share the ideas about, you know, what best practices are. You know.
You know, I mean, just this last week we had the conference of ag engineers. It was a global event, and the feedback, the comments was amazing, because people didn't even believe that we could have such over 4 days. The first day was for 2 very good workshops by, you know, people's comments, and they were so amazed that over the 4 days we could hold the international audience hellbound, and I mean, from the Commonwealth Secretariat, from Royal Engineering Society, who support, you know, student program, because we try to organize quiz competition for students in Africa.
Oh, okay.
Everything was so amazing, and I was quite very happy at the outcome, because we've been able to awaken our colleagues in ag engineering as to what we can do, what we can offer, and I'm very optimistic about the future, that we shall get to our destination one day, gradually.
Well, I can feel that optimism, you know, from you flowing through other people that I've met over there, and you know, the excitement when they see the technology that's going to make a difference to them. But you know, honestly, you are an inspiration, Michael. It's fantastic to have you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.